Well, there's not many tracks. Actually, quite factually, there's only one track that I've raced at in video games that gets on every single nerve that I have, and it's this one. Hello everybody, we have some more F122 driver career mode here, fresh off of a wild Austrian Grand Prix with Lewis Hamilton back on the top step at the podium, Verstappen out of the race with a mechanical failure. We've had 2 top 5s in the last 3 races, both unbelievably lucky by just staying out of chaos, but nonetheless, we've done it. But we're heading into France, Circuit de Paul Ricard, and I absolutely despise this racetrack. I don't know what it is, I've never been able to just kind of get the hang of it, and I just hate racing here. And there's not many races where I go into where I'm like, please let my engine fail on lap 2, but this is one of them. I'm hoping so much that this engine is going to fail at some point throughout this episode so I can get out of this track early and head to the next episode. But nonetheless, that doesn't matter. We're going to give it everything we have here until that happens or until we finish the race here, so we'll make the most of it. But yeah, I think it's a mental thing. Like, I don't know what it is, but this track gets in my head. This layout, the circuit, everything about it, it just screws with my head, and I'm like, I can't do it. So nonetheless, here in free practice 1, getting up to grips with the car, and once again, no really any upgrades coming into this weekend, so we're kind of focusing on the next 2 or 3 Grand Prix in terms of getting some upgrades and getting back towards the top of the midfield with this Haas team. And we've had some great results lately that are hopefully going to put us on the radar of a Ferrari or even a Red Bull or a McLaren, even if we have to, going into next season. What if Lewis Hamilton retires? Maybe Mercedes Toto Wolff will want me on the team, I don't know. But nonetheless, we have been doing some really good things here lately in this career mode by just simply staying out of chaos, and we're on the radar of some top teams for sure. But where could we end up? You know, you look at Ferrari, Sainz and Leclerc right now are both being very competitive, so it's very unlikely that we could get a ride at Ferrari, even though that's the pipeline team for this Haas. But you got to look at maybe a Red Bull. What if Perez starts to struggle? I don't know. We're really just kind of paying attention, trying to circle the driver on one of the top 3 teams that seems to be struggling. But right now, Ferrari is the only one that I kind of circle of the team that we cannot go to, because both of their drivers are doing very well. But Russell's had struggles, Perez has had some struggles as well, but he's also won Grand Prix, so we'll have to wait and see what happens, and so is George Russell. But nonetheless, here in Q1, I was very curious to see where we would end up. We didn't even make it into Q2 in Austria, so I was pretty concerned because we were at another high-speed circuit, but nonetheless, we did have quite a bit of downforce heavy sections as well to focus on here in Circuit de Paul Ricard. This is my final lap in Q1. You can see currently out of Q1 right now in P16, but we had actually managed to find several tenths of a second. Actually, we found about 8 tenths of a second as we came through the final turn. I was down to P20 as we were coming through down the front straightaway. 9 tenths of a second is what we're going to find, and that is going to get us into Q2. Thank goodness. P13 as our teammate Mick Schumacher currently in P8. We have been the qualifier on the team, and Schumacher's been the better racer. However, right now, looking like Schumacher showing quite a bit more pace here in Circuit de Paul Ricard. I wouldn't be surprised if Schumacher was quicker than me all weekend long. I already gave my reasons. I suck here. So you can see, here's my one and final lap in Q2, and things were not looking great. I could tell that I was probably going to be P15 out of 15 cars. So you can see down the front straightaway, DRS wide open, and well, it would be exactly as my prediction. We crossed the line and it was P15. So we start from P15 on the grid here in France. We have got some work to do, as I feel like I say every episode at this point, as I end up leaving something on the table. Schumacher makes it into Q3, and look at Lando Norris is showing some crazy pace right now in P2. We'll see what the McLaren can do going into the actual Grand Prix, where he will end up, as we'll see that starting grid here momentarily. But nonetheless, let's send it over to Crofty and get this pre-race grid show underway here in France.
Welcome along then to France, one of the great racing meccas, host of the world-famous Tour de France, and widely thought of as giving birth to the art of motor racing in the late 1800s. How far we've come since then, as this year's race gets underway. It's time, of course, for the French Grand Prix. Mastering a lap of Paul Ricard means getting to know 15 corners. 6 go to the left and 9 go to the right, for an overall lap distance of 3.6 miles. The 2 halves of the long Mistral Straight are separated by a heavy braking zone into a potential overtaking hotspot at the chicane. And watch out for drivers running onto the distinctive coloured stripes, which are low in grip and highly abrasive. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Verstappen, Sergio Perez, and Russell, Fernando Alonso, Ocon, Mick Schumacher, and Guan Yu Zhou, Tsunoda, Albon, Valtteri Bottas, Golden Boy, Vettel, Leclerc, Pierre Gasly, and Daniel Ricciardo, Stroll, and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. And joining me again for the race today, Natalie Pinkham. We should talk about Williams. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within the team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do. And that has definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
I have no idea what is going on with Lando Norris. He has absolutely insane pace. He's starting P2 on the grid. We have rain on the way, but we're going to start on the medium compound tire. I think that will be enough. Let's get ready.
The formation lap gets underway and every driver will be looking to settle in for the race ahead, making sure that their car is ready for the battle once the lights go out. So as all the cars reform the grids, the drivers will be hoping to get a strong start. They'll want to earn some valuable points from today's race, with final communications being done with their race engineers, ensuring the planned strategies are all in place.
Hard work from the team all weekend. I appreciate everybody. I'm going to give it everything I got. I've been struggling, but I'm going to see if I can find anything I can. Ready to go then. Lights out here in France. It's been a very shaky, rough weekend. Lewis Hamilton on pole. Look at Red Bull. None of them even in the top 3. Lando Norris unbelievably further ahead of his teammate of Daniel Ricciardo, who's all the way there at the back of the grid. We'll see what Lando Norris can pull off here. If Norris can get ahead of Hamilton in turn 1, never say never. He could win this Grand Prix. Nonetheless, it's going to be 5 red lights, lights out. We're underway here in France, and it's a decent launch off the grid. It's not great. We're going to lose 1 spot right there to my favorite driver of Sebastian Vettel now as we head down the straightaway towards turn 1, but we actually are going to be able to fight back. Debris goes flying in turn 1 off of somebody. Wouldn't be surprised if it's an AlphaTauri, because it feels like every race it's an AlphaTauri getting wing damage on the opening lap. But look at this. Lando Norris did get ahead of Hamilton in turn 1, and you can see Red Bull's scrapping it out in the background. That is not Verstappen. That is Perez right there going at it with the Spaniard of Carlos Sainz, and Sainz is going to come out on top of that battle. He wants to get the elbows out, get going. He's got an opportunity to gain some points on his teammate today of Charles Leclerc, who's starting at the back of the grid as well. But you can see everybody getting it sorted out, and I can confirm, by the way, it was an AlphaTauri that picked up the front wing damage. So nonetheless, you can see right now everyone just kind of settling into a single file line, other than myself, who's actually up the inside or outside of Alex Albon. I had a little bit of oversteer right there and went wide off the circuit, so I had to give up the position to Albon here by just putting my nose just a little bit behind his and then putting it back into overtake and hammering the throttle to try and stay alongside Albon, but it wouldn't quite work out in my favor right there now. So we are P14, however, so a pretty decent start now as I go a little bit wide, but we would hang on to it. Tsunoda into the pit lane following the first lap to fix that front wing, and now we can kind of focus in on Albon as well as Valtteri Bottas. How long until the rain comes, and how long am I going to be able to hold a pace that's decent, because I'm slow here? That's just the fact of the matter. But we do get past Alex Albon, move up into 12th place as we try to hunt down Valtteri Bottas. But you can see right here, he was starting to pull away from me. I just didn't have the pace. I was struggling so hard this whole weekend at a track that I cannot stand racing at. So it kind of makes sense that I'm going to struggle here. And I was just waiting for the rain at this point, and it wasn't long until the rain would start falling. Lap 6. Rain is coming coming down. We had fallen out of DRS range of Bottas and right into the hands of Daniel Ricciardo, who would cruise past me here down the straightaway and take over P11. So back down to P12 we go, with Albon and Leclerc on the hard compound tires running us down as well. Interesting strategy call from him, as he's not going to really get the benefit, as it was just a matter of time until we would be pitting. You see me go wide right there, get a bit of a exceeded track limits warning, but everybody was getting ready to flood into the pit lane here at the end of lap 8. So we all head in. Lando Norris leads the pack of cars into the pits here, and we're all going to throw on the intermediate compound tires. So there is going to be a lot of double stacking taking place here. I do see, I think, an Alpine that has stayed out on the circuit, so whoever that is, it looks like it's going to be Fernando Alonso, is going to really pay the price on that one. Fortunately, there was enough of a gap between myself and Schumacher to where we are only held stationary for maybe 2-3 extra seconds. It really wasn't that bad, so we're going to get the intermediate compound tire on. You do see we lose a spot, however, to Charles Leclerc, and you can see by the time we had kind of settled in, we were now P16, 3 seconds behind Leclerc, 4 seconds behind Bottas. Not a very enjoyable day for me, but it's not very enjoyable for the World Championship leader either. Max Verstappen, lap 11, goes for a spin, and he stops on the circuit. Carlos Sainz is going to get past him. He fortunately only gives up what looks like to be one's position, but still, nonetheless, that's going to really take him out of a threat for winning this Grand Prix. But you can see, to my surprise, we are actually faster in the rain than Valtteri Bottas, Alex Albon. I was closing in on both of those drivers in front of us. A gap now 3 seconds between myself and Valtteri. I can say for sure that caught me way off guard, because usually in the rain I'm unbelievably slow, and when I've been slower in the dry than a lot of these AI, I was pretty terrified for what was going to happen here in the wet conditions. But the gap continued to close, 2.6 seconds now, as you can see, lap 17 already. At this point, however, the rain shower was pretty quick. We knew it was going to be quick. Lando Norris still out ahead by half a second over Lewis Hamilton, but you can see Schumacher having a fantastic run like he was in Austria, P7, P8 for Alonso, Ricciardo, Leclerc as well there in the top 10. Ocon, by the way, down in P19. I decided to make a risky call, pit about a lap earlier than I expected the AI to pit. So I put on the medium compound tires. However, unfortunately, the medium compound tire didn't kick in right until the very end of the lap. So everybody was pitting as my tires were kicking in, so I didn't really get any gain whatsoever out of it, because I was struggling for about the first 3/4 of the lap. And you can see the gap between myself and Bottas had actually increased by about 2 seconds, so very unfortunate that it didn't quite work out in the way I was hoping it would. And unfortunately, once again, the track being dry, my pace was falling. After the whole pit cycle completed, Lando Norris was still out in front of Lewis Hamilton. Norris has been in a position before to go for his first win in Formula 1 and had Lewis Hamilton chasing him down. He's going to have to do it again here to get his first win in Formula 1. Now Pierre Gasly passing me. I didn't fight him because I saw Alex Albon closing in behind us, so I thought it would be smarter for me to actually just be in the DRS of Gasly, and we could probably pull back away from Albon, and then I can go for a last lap pass on Gasly like we did in the Austrian Grand Prix in the very last episode. So I just decided to be patient and stay behind him with only a few laps remaining in this Grand Prix, as Norris is headed towards victory here with 2 laps to go. I say that, and he is off the pace. Norris, his engine has failed. He's going to be out of the Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton takes over the lead. Sainz will move through into second, Russell into third, and Norris has had his dreams crushed once again as he was looking at his first win in Formula 1, and it will once again have to wait here. Unbelievable scenes there as this final lap was underway. We're now up at a P12. What a day here in France. It's not been an enjoyable Grand Prix weekend for myself, but to get P12 and maybe P11 would very well make me happy. Here we are down the long straightaway, DRS wide open, battery using as much as I can out of it. Look at the momentum, look at the speed. We swing to the right side. We're going to just about get clear of Gasly into the corner, and we're still side by side, but we make it happen. Lewis Hamilton is going to come through to win again here in Formula 1 and close the gap again to Max Verstappen, who's only going to be able to manage a 4th place result. Sainz and Russell there, 2nd and 3rd. Sainz, he's had like 4 second place finishes in a row, I think it is right now. It's absolutely insane for that Ferrari. He's doing better than Leclerc's doing, but nonetheless, we're going to come through to cross the line down this front straightaway. It's going to be P11 here in France. I was pretty delighted with that result. We didn't have anywhere close to the pace for our teammate Schumacher this weekend, but still pretty delighted with P11. Driver of the day here this weekend, it's going to be Daniel Ricciardo. Let's head to the podium celebrations.
Another superb French Grand Prix comes to an end, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I think it was clear what the main contributing factor out of the track was: speed. It sounds like an awfully reductive statement, but fast cars win races, and we saw that today with our winner.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it.
Lewis Hamilton with another Grand Prix victory as Mercedes continues to take over here in the midway point of the season. It is getting so spicy, and I'm actually kind of loving it, because I mentioned it last episode. I was so scared after the first 6 Grand Prix of the season were dominated by Red Bull. I thought the season was already over, but Mercedes said, hold on a second, we want to get involved, and boy have they gotten involved. Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, they are starting to push ahead, and they could very well be in the fight for the constructors before the season is over, not even just the drivers, with Hamilton, who definitely is going to be the focus now. Russell has had too many struggles already to really be much of a threat, in my opinion, for the Drivers' Championship, as he is 82 points out. But nonetheless, that's going to wrap it up for us here. As you can see, Schumacher did gain a few points on us. 13 points separate us with my 27 and his 14. But in the next one, I think it's the Hungarian Grand Prix before the summer break. So very excited for that one. We'll see where we come out in Hungary. One of my favorite tracks in this game. I will see you guys then. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, everybody.